Well, today we're talking to Aodhan King. I was just thinking, have you ever thought to yourself, all these songs that you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music, or you go to concerts and you're just like, man, these songs are so great. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could just sit and have a coffee and have like a conversation with one of these folks and just like, find out what makes these people tick? Well, I get to do that. I mean, this is what I'm literally doing right now, but I'm inviting you into this conversation with me and Aodhan King. I think it's going to be very up close and personal, very real, just conversational like that. But let's take an opportunity to get to know Aodhan a little bit. Here we go. Hello, Aodhan.
Hello, hello.
So I don't know if you can remember the last time. I think it's the only time I've ever talked to you in person.
hmm
Was about, I think it was maybe last year or 2 years ago, but it was at a bowling alley. Can you remember? I had my whole staff at a bowling alley in Nashville, Tennessee. What's it called?
Yeah,
Pinewood Social.
Pinewood Social. Yeah.
We were all hamming it up there, and then you happened to be, we just crossed paths, and I thought, I gotta just say a few words to this guy. So
Yeah, yeah.
there you
I
go.
remember that.
You do.
I do
Go
remember. Of course
figure
I do.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. But then another time that I remember you seeing you or being, where you led worship actually, and we never touched base. But this was February 2020. I happened to be in LA and I came to Hillsong, LA, and you and Ben Hastings were leading worship. And it was just like, I mean, everybody can think of February 2020. Where were you at that time? Just as COVID was on the brink. It was probably one of the last services where we were live. I don't
I
know. Do you
know.
remember
That's
that? You probably were just going around all different campuses and leading.
yeah. No, I remember that because that was we were on a tour called Winter Jam at that time, and we
Hmm.
were coming back. I was coming back through LA, leading at church, and I was in LA because I was planning to move there in April. So 2 months later, I was going to live there, but then went back to Australia to get all my stuff, and then COVID
Yeah.
happened, so I got locked in Australia for a year and a half. So I remember that service because
Wow.
I think that was the last church service that I led at for almost nearly 2 years because Australia's lockdown was so
Yeah.
extensive. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
remember that.
So funny. I just thought it
It's
might be
crazy.
interesting just to have this conversation because, I mean, I have these random touch points with you, but somehow like they're little markers in the last 4 years. And I kind of think about how far we've all come, in particular in the last 4 years, because the world has like turned on its end in so many ways. And I know for you on multiple levels, you've endured lots of like, changes and shifts and adaptations. And I just am interested. I just want to like know a little bit about how did you get through this season? Could you take me on a little flyby of Aodhan King over the last 4 years? Like even if you took me from that day that I saw you in Hillsong,
hmm
LA, so you
hmm
go from there, you're going
hmm
into the most torrentious season the world has ever seen. And then I know,
hmm
I mean, it's no secret also Hillsong has been through a lot, and I don't want to
Yeah,
get you to talk about anything that you don't want to, but I'm
yeah,
interested in
yeah, yeah.
your
Of course.
story. Would you share a
Yeah,
little with us?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, so February 2020. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was young and free. Kind of, we just put out an album. We just
Hmm.
finished an album at that point. And that year was like probably going to be for us as Young and Free the most significant year. We had a lot of things on the calendar.
Hmm.
Um, we had kind of for a long time at Hillsong, we had this kind of thing where you couldn't be out of Sydney for more than like 3 or 4 weeks maximum. So it made kind of touring to the States pretty hard. So we'd have to do a trip, come back, and
Yeah.
at this point, it was the first time ever that we'd kind of you know been allowed to go for longer. So that year was going to be really significant. So
Hmm.
we come back to Sydney. I'm planning to move to America that year. Get back to Sydney, COVID happens, and we all get locked down. this live record that we've recorded, I think was kind of this big moment for all of us. And then all of a sudden, that's all gone. Like everyone, I think everyone was so unsettled.
Is that the
Um,
album with "This Is Living Now"? Like that's a song you had a part in. That is that the one
yeah,
we're talking about? That
no. So this was an album
okay,
called All of My Best Friends. So we recorded it in
okay,
January of 2020,
okay,
um, which was a crazy time in Australia too because there was these
yeah,
bushfires that were just insane. Yeah, so it was a wild time. So essentially, that all happened, and then I'm in Australia, stuck in Australia for a year and a half, uh, with no church in person for pretty much that entire
yeah,
time. I think we had one service while I was there, and yeah, I think during that period of time, like a lot of stuff started coming out about Hillsong, and there was everyone was really unsettled. I think we had spent the last, from 2012 or 13 right through till 2020, we were out we were out on the road 200 days of the year, pretty much,
wow,
or
yeah,
involved in conferences. And so there was just a lot going on for many, many years. And then it
yeah,
comes to 2020 and everything kind of stops. And so obviously you start having questions around your identity, of course, because,
mm-hmm,
in a lot of ways, you can always act, whether it's right or wrong, sometimes your identity can get caught up in what you do. And so I think for a lot of people, including myself, you start going, okay, well, who am I outside of the ability to go and lead worship?
hmm,
Who am I if I'm stuck in Australia? And, I think during that time, I guess the most significant thing for me was that, um, at the beginning of 2020, the reason I wanted to move to America was I had been given this opportunity to kind of work on this pop record, and started working with a manager called Scooter Braun. A lot of people would know him, and was moving to the States to pursue a pop record. And after a year and a half of being in Sydney, I finally got like permission from the Australian government to leave. So I
hmm,
left in 2021, came to America, and pursued that. So I spent about a year or so working on a pop record. And over the period of kind of being outside of church looked really different. Young and Free wasn't doing anything. I think being outside of that community and seeing so much like turmoil in a lot of ways,
mm-hmm,
um, you know, in one sense, I felt like the pop record was like an escape for me. It was this way for me to not run away, but it was just like, okay, cool, I can do this outside of a community. But I
mm-hmm,
think over 2 years wrestling with that, I think I came to this place where I was like, you know what, I actually like really still feel like the thing that fires me up the most is worship music and music that connects people to God. And so, I spent 2 years in America, kind of trying to work that out. I'm already naturally an overthinker and a procrastinator. And
me too.
oh, dude, it's the worst. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, so that kind of led me to this place where I was like, I want to make a worship record. And so because of the void that, that all the church stuff kind of left in me, I was like, you know what, there's no outlet here at church right now. So for me, like, I still want to do this, so I'm just going to do it. And
yeah,
that's kind of how it all came about to where
yeah.
I am now.
Wow. I had a chance to interview Ben Hastings last week, and I'm just imagining when I see you and him sidling up beside each other on so many songs that you must be a pretty close friend with Ben. Like he's part of your
Yeah,
core
yeah,
community, hey, of people.
yeah, oh yeah. Ben's one of my best mates, and we
Is he?
like, yeah, yeah. Well, during COVID, we would obviously see him every day because we were both in Sydney at that time, and then we both moved to America at the same time. Like we've been like, yeah, like best mates. Love working with together and love hanging out. Probably hang out
Yes.
more than we ride together, but
Yeah. It's so great to see like special like brother, level relationships like that, and so many even great songs have come out of your friendship, which is amazing. And
yeah,
in some ways, like when see Ben and hear his story, and I think it's not like I don't know, it's like he doesn't have this sense of I'm gonna go out and show the world how great I am. He's just sort of like fumbled into this place where we discovered him and then just wanted more of that voice, that kind
yeah.
of like authentic, humble, I'm just
Mhm.
here doing my thing. And I was telling Ben just how how his songs and they're like Gratitude and a couple other songs like that that just the place erupts when we sing those
Yeah,
simple songs of worship. And I
yeah,
felt quite similar. In fact, I didn't even really know much about who you were and who Ben were when I was at Hillsong LA that time in February
yeah,
2020. But I remember just thinking, man, those two guys, because it was you and Ben, and there was just this kind of chemistry and ease and flow, and you
mm,
were just both on your acoustics. Of course, the band was great, but it's like there's something more developed there that I just really saw and
yeah,
really admire a lot.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's the best, and and like I agree with everything you said. I think he's so special, and he very much stumbled into everything. You know, that's our biggest joke about Ben is that like
Hmm.
he just he is like the biggest risk taker, the most like he lives life with the most faith. He's the type of guy that's like, you know, if he has $100, he'll spend 300, and it will somehow work out for him. You know, like he just
Yeah.
is he's crazy. So yeah, it's
Huh.
amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about your latest song. You've got a new album coming out on Friday, which most people watching this, it will already be out, and it's called Beyond Us. But we've got one of the
Yeah.
songs on our site right now. Now, the lyrics stood out to me as I thought these are quite vulnerable lyrics. They're not all
Mm,
just life is amazing, praise the Lord, he's the joy of my, and those songs are wonderful too, but this song digs into a little bit of real life, like,
yeah.
you know, heartache, pain, struggle, the
Mm,
wrestle.
yeah.
I love songs like that that just feel real. Do you want to just
Yeah.
take me into this? Is this your story, or is it someone else's story,
Yeah.
or where does this come from?
Yeah, yeah. This is pretty like for me in a lot of ways. This song's pretty fundamental to the whole record because it's
Huh.
um, there's another song called "Without You" which is on the record, and this
Yeah.
song and these two songs together are kind of like in a lot of ways like siblings. Um, I had Jason Ingram, who's one of the best writers and
Yeah.
producers ever. And you know, I was lucky enough to have him like help me on this project. He produced the record as well as we wrote the song together. And when we started the process, it was very much like, you know, I'd been making this pop record, doing like a worship thing, and I had this one song called "Without You," which was this idea of like, all right, God, like I'm going to trust you. Like I don't want to do anything without you. I want you to lead the way, light the way, and you know, if you're not in it, then I don't want it. And so that was one song, but then that kind of led us into this song, "Pray You Never Leave." It's like, well, okay, I know that God's with me, and He does promise us that He'll never leave or forsake us. But
Mhm.
instead of saying like God, I just pray that you never leave, felt like the right thing as we stepped into making this record. It was one of the first songs that we wrote, and you know, there was so much uncertainty in life at that time while I
Hmm.
was making this album. It was obviously the Hillsong stuff. I had moved countries from Australia to America on my own. Got no family here, and you know, I came from a place where church and those things felt so certain. There was a lot of like security in knowing like all my days were accounted for. I didn't really have to think for myself in a lot of ways. Like with Hillsong, there was just so much momentum that we were riding. We had every
Hmm.
day. I knew exactly I knew where I'd be in a year and a half, and I think I went from that
Hmm.
to just being like, I don't even know what I'm doing in the next hour.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, and so this song really is talking about that. Like God, like I don't want to do this alone, and like I just pray that you wouldn't leave me. So that really is like the essence of this song. And Ingram like was very intentional about keeping me on track with
Hmm.
like making sure I'm saying the right things, and particularly setting up the record to be something that is vulnerable and honest.
Hmm. Wow. If you could
Yeah,
hear the thoughts that roam my mind, you'd know you're all consuming. You hold my heart when it's too much for me. When I fall apart, you're the one who holds the keys to the healing that I need. So I just pray you'd never leave. I just wonder even how many just regular old worship pastors who are singing these songs, but can identify with the heartbeat of your story, like feeling like I know where everything's going, and then suddenly even Aodhan King, the carpet can come out from under you, and you're faced with the same humanity that we all are faced with, right? And then
Yeah,
out of
absolutely.
that comes these songs that just breathe with like real life. So does that like
Yeah.
flow through the rest of the album, the full songs? Is there like an arc, a story to the whole album? Does it sort of ebb and flow, or what's the
Hmm.
overall vision you have for Beyond Us?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that yeah, it definitely does. The whole record is a record of like for me like trust and Beyond Us, the title took me a while to get to that place, but essentially it's as simple as the thing that kind of gave me the most peace and assurance during a rocky period, obviously, like we keep mentioning, was the fact that firstly, like God's ways are beyond anything I could ever imagine, and His plans are better than I could ever conjure up. And for some people, that can be quite daunting to feel so far from this amazing God. Well, just that His plans are so insane. But for me, that was the thing that gave me this peace. It gave me this assurance that, okay, like I have no idea what's going on, but at least God does. And I called it Beyond Us because this isn't just pertain to me. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the record is quite a collaborative record, and every song that I wrote with the people that there's a lot of features. The same sentiment was true amongst them as well. There's a girl on this record called Griff who's incredible, and
Mm-hmm.
she's this UK artist who's been, on tour with literally everybody. She just got off tour with Taylor Swift. She's been on tour with Coldplay, Ed Sheeran, Dua
Wow.
Lipa. Yeah, she's unbelievable, one of the most talented people ever. And she loves God, and I think the one thing for her that has been like in such a crazy season for her, her life has just blown up. So you talk about the last 4 years, it's just dramatically different to how it looked before. She's never in the same place more than a day. And for her, the sentiment was the same. It's like, I have no idea what's going on, but
Mm.
God does. And he's beyond all of us. And it kind of, in a lot of ways, that unifies us. It kind of keeps us on this, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was the sentiment. That's the sentiment of the record. And so, yeah, you can kind of see that throughout in all the songs. And um,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like it took me a long time to get to that, but it feels like the right spot to land for sure.
Wow. Hey, we had mentioned a little bit about Ben. I wonder if there's a couple other names that might come top of mind to you, if like these are people that you look to, that I don't know, that just you look up to, or that have influenced you, or sort of, someone you can call. I don't know, maybe this is too private
Hmm.
to ask, but
Yeah, no,
can you just tell me about
yeah, you're great.
who's like pouring into your life? Who would you and sorry for all the people that we're going to leave out, but I'm just interested
Yeah,
in who your people are, that like even you mentioned Jason Ingram. Are there a couple other names of
yeah,
people that you admire?
yeah. I would say that's probably like the thing I'm most proud of in my life is my relationships. Like, and so yeah, definitely. I mean, all the Hillsong guys, like, we're all
Yeah,
still so close. Ruben
really.
Morgan, Ben Fielding, yeah, like Ben Fielding's one of my best mates. Like we talk all the time. Like, so
Huh.
Fielding, Joel Houston, I saw him last night. He's like been such a mentor to me.
Yeah.
Brooke, obviously, um, like all those guys, Hastings. Ingram's been amazing in this season because obviously, like, he hasn't been part of the Hillsong world, and that's been really nice to have like a voice in my life that's kind of outside of the context that I've been in, and which all those other guys I've listed before like were aware of. So yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of guys that I would lean on and have been champions of me. And to be honest, in a lot of ways, like, I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for people like Ruben and Joel and
Mm-hmm.
Fielding and Brooke and those guys. Like, when I was a young guy, like that, I would never have imagined even being on an interview like this, or even having the opportunity to write songs. I think those guys saw something in me and others like Hastings, and kind of like threw us into the deep end in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, I'll always be so grateful to them. And still to this day, it's like that they're who I'm sending songs to see what they think. And yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really grateful for them.
It's amazing to me. I was thinking about Hillsong, which has obviously been a part of our lives for so long, and I have great friends from Hillsong and such high regard for the long story that they've been a part of. But even now, yeah, things are a little different, and who needs to get into all the details of it? But still, um, there's so many of you worship leaders who have gone out, and some have moved to Nashville or moved to LA or different places, and you're like sprinkled in the worship leading songwriting world in such a massive influence that's almost now it's like scattered seed. It's like a forest that's out planting, and some may or may not be still totally plugged into Hillsong or not,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
I mean, there's a part of me that just feels like I just honor the seed that is being planted out from that country, from that church, through good or bad or all the wrestle that's come through. What a blessing
Hmm.
to the church worldwide. And you're certainly a part of that story. So, and even
Yeah.
just as you're talking
Thank
about
you.
like who your best mates are, and you're just talking about the old Hillsong crew, like Brooke and Ruben,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's the same community that
Yeah.
is your people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Nothing's changed. I think, I feel like, you know, the church and the organization and things like that. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes there, but I think relationally, nothing's changed for all of us. Like,
Hmm.
I wrote songs. I wrote songs on this record with a bunch of them. I'll continue to do that. Like, yeah, that has been one of the greatest things I think that's ever come out of that community. It's just been like the relationships and the
Yeah.
marriages that people have had because of being there, and the kids. And so it's really special, and I'm so grateful for it.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Aiden, thank you. I'm glad that I got to bump in you, a couple of times over the last few years. Now I feel like I've
Yeah.
sort of put the whole picture of the story together, and your voice in particular. I mean, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but you have a distinctive gift in your voice. It's so like soft and penetrating, but fierce in some way. I just really, really admire that gifting. And then, like I said, it's not even just your voice, because I was there sitting under you leading worship, and then I went away feeling like, man, something was so just real and I don't know, mature, and I don't know the words that I could use to describe it, but you and Ben together, the real thing. So really
Yeah.
grateful for you.
Oh, thanks for saying that. That's really kind. Yeah, no, I'm grateful too. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well,
Yeah.
we will be following with you and the songs that you're releasing on Friday. Hopefully, we'll get some more of those charts. We got lots
Yeah.
of your
Yeah.
other music, and we're
Hmm.
definitely right there behind you. So, cheering you on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Stay the
Thank you
course.
so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
sharing your story. All right, this is Ryan
Yeah.
Dahl
Thank you so
and
much.
Aodhan King signing off. See you next time.